What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Guys, we are back with one of those TikTok videos that ask questions and stuff like that. And I think I've done like maybe part one, two, three of these. This is from the channel TikTok React. So y'all make sure y'all check out their channel. Hit that subscribe button on the end. But we got what's something Europe has changed in your mind as an American, part four. So these are always interesting to hear and see. So we checking this out, seeing what it's about. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Let's get
Americans
it.
who've been to or traveled to Europe, what's something Europe has changed in your mind that now you can't let go?
Just the way that people talk here in America, so loud, so shiny. And the way they think it's better to have a big smile on their face than to have their natural facial expression. People in Vienna don't tolerate that.
I spent 7 weeks in Iceland.
I guess that's different. Y'all see me smiling now because I'm laughing, but I think that I ain't gonna lie. This heat had my face just looking like, cause that's how hot it's been.
I don't tolerate that.
I spent 7 weeks in Iceland, and I learned that according to Icelandic politics, Bernie Sanders is considered far right.
Wow.
Okay, so I only found out about this recently, and it kind of blew my mind. But I watched a TikTok of a lady who worked on a farm, and she basically went on to say, like grocery stores and stuff like that hold auctions, and in these auctions they sell off near expired or expired food stock that they can't sell to us and we're not going to buy or eat, and they sell it to farmers, and farmers use it to feed their livestock. So what that basically means is the same processed garbage that we eat from grocery stores every day is being fed to livestock to keep them sustained with, a few pieces of carrot and apple chopped up into it. Like, there were Ritz crackers in this trough of food that they were gonna Ritz crackers, bro.
That's crazy. Which is crazy because it's like, oh, we're not gonna give it to the people. We're gonna give it to the livestock, in which you still sell us the live. So it's like we're still getting it anyway. That's crazy. I need to go find that story.
So
wherever you found that from,
bro.
That's wild.
I am so glad you asked. Healthcare. And I'm not referring to universal healthcare, although that is a great perk. I am talking about the level or standard of care that you receive as a patient. For example, I sprained my wrist while snowboarding. And although there was a language barrier, they x-rayed, splinted, wrapped, dressed, did everything that they could to make sure that my wrist was going to heal properly.
Nice.
And went into detail about what was happening to my body and how I could aid my body in its healing process. Again, language barrier, but they really did try. When I broke these same wrists in the United States a few years later, I was told to ice, elevate, and it would be in a cast for 6 to 7 weeks. I was only in it for 5 weeks, though. Then, when I got my cast off, I was very likely going to need physical therapy for my mobility. However, I was told by the PA that I won't need physical therapy because my wrist can bend enough.
Living in Europe for the last couple of years
That's
has taught
insane.
me more than anything that the propaganda surrounding the United States being the best country on earth does one of two things. It either makes you complacent in being taken advantage of by the oligarchs, or it villainizes you for speaking out against your exploitation. But walking around saying you're the best country on earth does nothing to improve the country itself.
At all.
But saying that you're the best country on earth really helps keep those who are in power, and those voices who are suppressed continue to be suppressed.
That's right. That's a
Well,
fact.
I won't go bankrupt if I get sick in Europe, and I won't be poisoned by that country's food supply. I won't be subjected to laws and policies that harm marginalized groups. I won't live under a rapidly deteriorating political environment that's slowly stripping away your personal freedoms and rights. I won't be force-fed somebody else's religious beliefs when I may think something differently. Yeah. I can actually walk outside and breathe clean air. I can see people having access to free education, so they're a smarter society, a healthier society. And finally, I can feel like I'm part of something bigger, like being in a community where people actually give a shit about one another.
Dang.
A lot of people are going to say the food, and you're not wrong, because America's food is so much more processed. It takes like 2 months for your stomach to actually acclimate back to all of that. So for the first 2 months, you're going to probably be sick. But something I really realized after talking to a lot of people from Europe is that, unlike Americans, their job isn't like their main source of pride.
Yeah.
In America, we tend to really like boast about how many hours we're putting into the grind of our job.
Which is crazy because I know it's been a minute since I even talked about this, because it's been a minute since I did one of these type of videos. But that work culture, like working 12 hours a day, 15 hours, that's insane. Telling somebody, yeah, I work 60 hours. All you did was sleep and work. You ain't have time for nothing. You have time for nothing in your day if you're working most of it.
Whereas in Europe, they don't really tend to do that. Not to say that they're not proud of what they do for work, but they tend to have a lot of different things that they're more proud of than how long they work and where they work for so long. I'm not saying that culture is not shifting, especially with millennials and Gen Z and Alpha, but it's definitely something I noticed and definitely something I wanted to change.
Yeah, I feel that.
The fact that I quite literally need an insurance for everything where I live. So for those of you who don't know, I am a U.S. American, originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and I now live in the Nuremberg area in Bavaria, Germany. I had no idea that certain types of insurances in other parts of the world existed. In the United States, I guarantee you, more people have car insurance than have health insurance. And here, I've got...
It's crazy because with car insurance, you have to have it to have your car. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure people will cancel it later. But it's more of a priority to have car insurance than health insurance.
Have car insurance than have health insurance. And here, I've got health insurance, car insurance, personal liability insurance, personal liability insurance as a self-employed individual, legal insurance as a self-employed individual, accident insurance, I'm no longer able to work insurance, retirement insurance, private retirement insurance, almost forgot about dental, homeowners insurance. What should I insure next?
We always talk shit about the States. Someone who's American, you are always seeing like the cons about being an American and living in the States. But one thing that I learned that was like, of all the good things, and I felt lucky to be living in the States, was from Italy. I lived in Italy for about 6 months. And I have realized that as a young person, if you have the spirit of an entrepreneur and you're not 50 years old, it is so hard for you to get the resources and the credibility to just do it. Additionally, it's not as easy to fail and just open another startup the way it is here in California and Silicon Valley. And that, like, learning from failure came from the States. So it made me realize I feel really lucky to be a young person who has aspirations and who has an American passport.
Okay.
The main thing that
I think that's different right there.
And who has an American passport.
At least from what I'm used to hearing.
The main thing that opened my eyes when I went to Europe, and this was when I was a teenager. I went to France. I've been to France twice. And I've been to England and I've been to Austria. The main thing that I noticed was the food. Okay. Even though that food is super rich, I still lost weight because there aren't the additives that we add in our food are banned over there. So even if you eat more than you would have ever eaten over there, you still will lose weight because a lot of their food isn't modified. And on top of that, how they price their food is different. Like, it's the opposite of what we do over here. So that was a big eye opener for me in particular.
I got tagged in this several times, so here we go. For context, I am from Texas, but I live in Germany.
Hey,
so we live in the country. Like, I'm a country gal now. Very tiny village. Lots of livestock, cornfields, like country. And anyways, there are trails everywhere. We can walk out of our house and there are trails in every direction for miles. You can just hop on a trail and bike and walk to the next town. A lot of these trails go through people's property. It's their farmland, like they own it, and I'm walking through it. When we first got here, there were so many times where I thought, okay, I'm not supposed to be here and I'm going to get SHOT. Because if you're walking through or stumble upon somebody's property in Texas, you better be careful. Here,
especially because in Texas, like you said, open land, so it's a lot of land out here. It's a whole lot of land. So you could be walking and think it's just an open field, but somebody house like further down along, and they might, most of the time, if they have a house that's like, on a couple of acres of land, then they're bound to have like a big gated fence or something like that. But with some, they're just they just way back in a big field. So you gotta be, especially, I think there was a month where it was like a couple of people just getting SHOT'd for just walking up to the wrong door or something.
Or stumble upon somebody's property in Texas, you better be careful. Here, that is completely normal, and it took me a solid year to get used to. And not very many people own guns, so...
The windows. Nice.
So my answer is
like that speaks for
security.
itself.
You feel so much safer in Switzerland. I live in Switzerland. I've been here about almost 7 years this year, and we just don't have the same security concerns. My 4-year-old walks to preschool by himself. He knows how to cross the street and everything. You don't have kids getting yelled, like snatched up. And my example was going to be that people literally leave their strollers outside of stores, and there's a stroller behind me that was parked there while the parent went in to buy.
I think when I first started learning about, it was probably Sweden. I know it was one of the Scandinavian countries. I that was like one of the main things that was like one of the biggest culture shocks for probably just anybody outside of Europe, pretty much, with like the strollers and all those things being left. While you're probably going in having a bite to eat, but you can still see it. I think that was like the biggest culture shock. It was always in top 10 videos when I checked it out.
Baked goods. That's what people do here, and my list could go on: safety, security, cleanliness, education, geography. It's a long list. I mean, I definitely want to move back to the U.S. one day, but with kids, it definitely feels better in Europe, right?
I could write a novel about my experiences, but I'm going to talk about one specifically. I went to Finland back in December and decided to take the bus across town. I was horrified when I saw these very, very small children get on the bus completely by themselves. They were probably like 7 and 5 years old. My first thought was they're lost, they lost their parents, they're in danger, they need help, but they were totally fine. They were carrying sleds, they were laughing, they were joking around, and then they got off the bus. And it's because Finland is one of the safest countries in the world. Parents there are not worried about their children getting kidnapped or anything bad happening to them, really, because it's very rare. I know a parent in the state of New York who got charged with child abuse for letting their 10-year-old kid ride the New York City subway by themselves. Meanwhile, me as a black woman, if I decide to have a child, obviously they're going to be black. There's going to come a day where I have to explain to them that it's not okay for them to sit outside and play with their toys because they could get shot by the police. That's the US for you.
That's crazy. It's crazy because, it's different strokes, different folks. And I know these are their personal experiences. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, this could be life in general, but when it comes to the U.S., if you ever see people really just enjoying like their time in the U.S., they probably got some money. That's it. That's point blank in the period right there. For people, if you ain't got money or, a good stable income, it's gonna suck here because you can't really enjoy at least the good things that come out of here. You really need some money. It sucks. I don't think many people in Iceland would consider Bernie as a right winger, more like a normal social democrat. Okay. Bernie Sanders, he seemed nice. I remember that meme of him going around. The woman said, in Europe, we don't tolerate smiley faces. Obviously doesn't know that we all try to look sad in front of Americans to make sure that not too many of them decide to move here. I feel like I'm that type of person. I do want to visit. I do plan to visit Europe, stuff like that. But I do know when it comes to moving, stuff like that, I'm sure some of y'all would be like, hey man, you can visit, but we're not trying to be overcrowded. And some people try to bring what they know to somewhere new. So, but I definitely understand that. I'm that type of person. I can make the visits, but I'm not trying to overcrowd a space where everybody, you know, that you had that town that was the friendliest, the happiest, and now this whole community of people moved in and they dropped on the charts type of thing, you know, like it's this way for a reason type of thing. But all in all, these are interesting. These are always interesting takes, interesting experiences, but enjoyable. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations, and y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.